Welcome to Hollywood Graveyard, where we set out to remember and celebrate the lives of those who lived to entertain us by visiting their final resting places. Today we're exploring Grandview Memorial Park, where we'll find such stars as Edna Purviance, Harry Langdon, Clara Kimball Young, and many more. Join us, won't you? As Hollywood Graveyard enters its third year of existence, we find ourselves in one of the last cemeteries in the Los Angeles area that we've not yet visited, Grandview Memorial Park in Glendale. Often overshadowed by another Glendale cemetery, Forest Lawn, Grandview was actually the first cemetery in the area, opening decades before Forest Lawn in 1884 as Glendale Cemetery, later renamed to Grandview. In 2005, Grandview became the subject of a local scandal when it was discovered that the then ownership had not only allowed the cemetery to fall into disrepair, officials also discovered remains that had not been properly buried and other shady and neglectful practices. The cemetery was forced to close in 2006, the city facilitating limited visits to the cemetery to just 1 day a week for years. In 2014, Grandview came under new management, which worked hard to revive the cemetery. Initially, the cemetery was open only 1 day a week while restoration efforts were undertaken to renovate the grounds, restore and repair the mausoleums, and locate overgrown graves. Since that time, under this new management, the cemetery has undergone somewhat of a renaissance and is now fully functional and operational once again. Let's begin our tour in Section B in the southeast corner of the cemetery. Not far in from the eastern road, we find the grave of actress Dorothy Coburn, often seen playing flappers or society ladies in silent Hal Roach comedies. She's perhaps best known for appearing alongside Laurel and Hardy in a number of their early films, like 1927's The Second 100 Years and Leave 'Em Laughing in 1928. Dorothy also worked as a stuntwoman and a stand-in for Ginger Rogers. She retired from show business in 1936, living to be 73. Continuing north along the outer road, we reach a small circular lawn on the left. This is the Garden of Remembrance, a community cremation garden. Among those laid to rest here is renowned theater organist George Wright. He's considered by many as modern theater's best organist, known for his performances on his grand Wurlitzer organ. He performed at Fox Theater in San Francisco, and later became the house organist for the Paramount Theater in New York. He developed a cult following for his organ performances, playing a key role in reviving interest in theater organ music. After returning to California, he became the studio organist and music director for the soap opera General Hospital. He continued to play concerts and record albums until his death at age 77. After which he was cremated, his ashes interred at this site, though his name is not listed on the markers. If we hop across the street to the north, we reach Section F. Close to a large tree is the final resting place of Madge Blake. The beloved matronly actress is known for several roles on television, including as Larry's mother on Leave It to Beaver, Flora on The Real McCoys, and Aunt Harriet Cooper in the 60s Batman series. On film, she can be seen in movies like Singin' in the Rain and An American in Paris. She died of a heart attack at age 69 and rests here alongside her mother. If we follow this circular row around to the left, we find the grave of Sir Guy Standing. He was a British actor who rose to prominence in the theater, first in England, then America on Broadway. For his service during the First World War, he was awarded a Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire in the Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve. It wasn't until later in his career, in the 1930s, when he was around 60, that he began his film career, lending his genteel British presence to films like Death Takes a Holiday and The Lives of a Bengal Lancer. He died of a heart attack at the age of 63. Let's head back to the outer road and continue to the northern end of the cemetery. Just before the North Mausoleum is a small cremation lawn on the right. About halfway in is Alec Craig. The Scottish-born actor was often known for playing the archetypal miserly Scotsman, a familiar face on film in the 30s and 40s. His credits include Mutiny on the Bounty, National Velvet, and Northern Pursuit. Craig died from tuberculosis in 1945. Just west is the Garden of Devotion, featuring small cremation graves in front of the North Mausoleum. Turning right, in front of a half wall, is the grave of Chill Wills. He began his career forming and singing in the quartet The Avalon Boys in the 1930s. He would then take his distinctive, deep, rough voice into film and television, primarily in Western roles. His role as beekeeper in 1960's The Alamo earned him an Oscar nomination.
Here's to the ladies, I love them all. Here's to the ones I recall. Here's to the ladies, married or free. They all look pretty good to me.
Other films include Giant and McClintock. He died of cancer at age 76. Following along the half wall to the right, we find the grave of Manning Sherwin. He was a songwriter and composer, known for his work in both British and American musical theater and film. His most enduring composition is A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square, with lyrics by Eric Maskowitz. The song would become a standard, recorded by many of the major artists of the era, from Glenn Miller to Vera Lynn and Frank Sinatra. Tori Amos would even perform a rendition of the song as the closing theme of Good Omens.
Berkeley Square.
Manning lived to be 76. Just to the left is the grave of Kenny Duncan. Hyped as the meanest man in the movies, Duncan was known for playing B-Western movie villains, around 120 westerns by some estimates. He also appeared in crime dramas like The Spider's Web, and in a number of Ed Wood films like Night of the Ghouls. Ill health later in life drove him to suicide by barbiturate overdose. He was 69. Let's make our way now into the North Mausoleum. Immediately to the right in the corner is the niche of Clara Kimball Young, one of silent film's popular starlets, a favorite among moviegoers during the World War I era. She made her stage debut at the age of 3 with her parents' theater company. At Vitagraph, her star rose quickly in 1 and 2 reel short films, often as the virtuous heroine. The 1914 film My Official Wife launched her to stardom, leading her to top the popularity poll of stars in 1914, and by the following year her star ranked alongside the likes of Mary Pickford, the Gish sisters, Mabel Normand, and Edna Purviance. Other of her hits include 1919's Eyes of Youth, featuring a young up-and-comer named Rudolph Valentino. Clara was involved with Louis Selznick, forming the Clara Kimball Young Film Corporation to produce her films. Souring relationships in her personal and business life began to take a toll on her career by the late 20s, working mainly in vaudeville. She had a brief revival in a handful of talkies in the 30s, but retired from acting in 1941. Her star was not forgotten though, as she spent her later years making personal appearances and giving interviews for those who had rediscovered her work in silent film. She died at the motion picture home at the age of 70. Following the road around to the west, we reach the sprawling West Mausoleum. The mausoleum is kept locked, but you can request supervised access. Built in the 1920s, this Spanish colonial revival-style mausoleum is essentially one really long corridor, running the entire length of the cemetery. It's no Forest Lawn great mausoleum, but this mausoleum has its own unique beauty and charm that make it well worth the visit. The journey from one end of the mausoleum to the other is long, so to pass the time, cast your eyes above you as you stroll for some thought-provoking quotes about death along the way. Death, the lover of life, frees us forever. Remember me when I am gone into the silent land. I dread no more the wrath of heaven. I have an angel there. Is death a door that leads to light? Death's sure name is Onward. Now then, let's see who we can find here in the West Mausoleum. From the main entrance, if we turn left, we find a wall of niches. Here lies another major silent film star, Edna Purviance. She's known for being the leading lady in many of Charlie Chaplin's films, appearing in over 30 Chaplin films, more than any other actress. Edna was working as a secretary when she was spotted in a cafe and invited to audition for A Night Out in 1915. This would be the beginning of a long-lasting relationship and collaboration with Chaplin, including some of his best films, like the 1921 classic, The Kid. Other films include The Immigrant, A Woman of Paris, and her final screen role, 1952's Limelight. She had left the proverbial limelight in the late 20s, but Charlie kept her on his payroll until her death at the age of 62 from cancer. A few spaces up and to the left is Lafe McKee. He was a prolific actor with some 450 credits to his name. The majority of his films were westerns, supporting the likes of John Wayne, Gary Cooper, and Tom Tyler, playing amiable father figure types. This earned him the moniker, the Grand Old Man of B-Westerns. He retired in 1948, dying a decade later at the age of 87. Let's turn now to the wall to the right. Along the bottom row is the niche of Harry Langdon. The comedic actor ranked among other silent greats of the era, like Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, and Charlie Chaplin. Early in his career, he was a popular feature in circuses and on the vaudeville stage, performing his trademark Johnny's New Car act for some 20 years. His film career didn't start until he was 40, when he signed with Mack Sennett's studio. With his baby face, he developed a sort of innocent man-child persona who finds himself in precarious situations, which would endear him to audiences. Among his best-known films are The Strong Man, Tramp, 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 and Long Pants. In those years, he worked regularly with a young Frank Capra. Harry died of a cerebral hemorrhage in 1944 at the age of 60. Just to the right is the Room of Remembrance. Herein, low on the left wall, is the niche of Clarence Wilson. The actor appeared in close to 200 films, often as a miser or grouch. He can be seen in a number of Our Gang and Laurel and Hardy comedies, as well as in notable supporting roles in films like You Can't Take It With You and The Penguin Pool Murder. He continued to work right up until his death in 1941 at the age of 64. In this same room, high on the wall above the window, we find Gus Meins. Born in Frankfurt, Germany, Meins started his career as a cartoonist and comedy writer for Fox. He would go on to direct comedy shorts, including Universal's Buster Brown comedies, and later as a senior director for Hal Roach's Our Gang shorts. His 16 Our Gang short films include Mama's Little Pirate and Second Childhood. He also directed a number of comedies featuring Thelma Todd and Patsy Kelly, as well as the Laurel and Hardy film Babes in Toyland. In 1940, he faced prosecution on morals charges, as having been accused of inappropriate relationships with a number of youths. He swore his innocence, but fearing the trial would ruin him regardless of the outcome, he took his own life by carbon monoxide poisoning at the age of 47. The news shocked Hollywood, but without a trial, we may never know what happened. Back to the main chapel, you'll notice a stairwell, which leads down to the lower-level community crypts, where rest many who opted not to be buried in their own grave or niche. It's closed to the public, but the cemetery hopes that through renovations of the mausoleum, it will be reopened someday. Among those who rest down in that quiet hall are a number of stars. Helen Ford was an actress known in the 20s for musical comedies, including Broadway productions of Dearest Enemy, Peggy Ann, and Chi-Chi. She had a second career in film and television beginning in the late 40s, seen in films like The Model and the Marriage Broker, shows like Public Defender, and even an uncredited appearance in A Clockwork Orange. She died of a stroke at the age of 87. Oscar Beregi Jr. was an actor, a regular on television in the 60s and 70s, making appearances in shows like The Twilight Zone, Green Acres, 77 Sunset Strip, The Untouchables, and more. And fans of Mel Brooks films will recognize him as the sadistic jailer in Young Frankenstein. He was just 58 when he died of a heart attack, His father, Oscar Beregi Sr., was also an actor. Leo G. Carroll was an actor, perhaps best remembered for his roles as Alexander Waverly in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and as the title character in Topper. He was nominated for 2 Emmys for his role in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Carroll also appeared in 6 Alfred Hitchcock films, including Strangers on a Train, Rebecca, and North by Northwest. He died from cancer-induced pneumonia at the age of 85. Let's leave the mausoleum behind and head back to the grounds. Just south of the mausoleum entrance is a section of cremation graves, the Garden of Prayer. Along the first row to the left we find Verna Felton. She was best known as a voice actress, and Disney fans will recognize her in a number of memorable roles, including Flora in Sleeping Beauty, the fairy godmother in Cinderella, Dumbo's mother in Dumbo, and the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland.
Off with their heads!
She also voiced Wilma Flintstone's mother in The Flintstones. She wasn't just a voice actress, though. She appeared in the 1955 film Picnic, and on television she played Hilda Crocker on December Bride and the maid in the memorable I Love Lucy episode Lucy Hires a Maid. She died from a stroke at the age of 76, just one day before Walt Disney died. Let's continue south to the next garden area, the Garden of Eternity. Along the back wall we find Steve Shaw. He was an actor who began performing as a child. He's best remembered for his role playing Eric Fairgate in the TV drama Knots Landing. The role earned him a nomination for the Young Artist Award in 1987. He can also be seen in shows like Little House on the Prairie and The Waltons. His career was cut short when he died in a car accident in 1990 at just 25. Finally, we head to Section D in the southern end of the cemetery. This is where we find the grave of Leo White. Born in Germany and raised in England, White began his acting career on stage in England before moving to the US to appear in silent film. He would quickly become a regular supporting player in Charlie Chaplin films, often seen as the wax-mustachioed villain. Throughout his career and close to 500 credits, he mainly played smaller supporting roles, but many of them were in some of the great films of early Hollywood, like Ben-Hur, Valentino's Blood and Sand, Casablanca, and The Great Dictator. He continued to act until his death from a heart attack in 1948. And that concludes our tour. What are some of your favorite memories of the stars we visited today? Share them in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more famous grave tours. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. When life gives you lemons, plant them in a graveyard so you can enjoy them after you're dead. Lemonade, anyone?